Today's tech news moves fast, but understanding it shouldn't be hard. That's why Snarful Solutions Group brings you Connecting the Dots, where we break down what's happening in tech and why it matters to you. Now, let's dive in with your hosts.
Welcome to Connecting the Dots. I'm Alex.
And I'm Morgan. We are broadcasting live from Sacramento, California.
And we are here to break down the day's top tech news
And explore exactly how it impacts your everyday life.
Today is Tuesday, March 3, 2026.
And we've got a pretty massive shift in the tech world to unpack today.
Huge. But first, let's get you set up for the morning. If you are tuning in from the Northeast today, you might want to grab an extra layer and definitely plan for a slower commute.
Yeah, we are tracking some wintry mixed precipitation spreading all across that region.
Right. There's light snow and ice accumulations forecast straight through southern New England, so please stay safe on those roads.
And if you are in the southern plains stretching up into the Midwest, keep an eye on the sky. There's an increasing severe weather threat moving through.
We're looking at rounds of showers and thunderstorms, and some of these are packing a serious punch. That's expected each day, straight through Friday.
Meanwhile, looking out the studio window here at our home base in Sacramento.
A completely different story.
Totally. We have a beautiful sunny day on tap. High of 69 degrees Fahrenheit. It is basically your perfect California morning.
Which is a really nice contrast to the financial markets right now, because the numbers there are looking a bit stormier.
Just a bit. So the Dow Jones took a hit, closing at 47,848.36.
That is a daily drop of about 644.75 points, or 1.33%.
Right, which brings the weekly contraction down by 3.41%.
And the S&P 500 mirrored that sentiment. It closed at 6,744.27, down 55.99 points for the day. That's a 0.82% drop.
Bitcoin traders are definitely feeling the whiplash, too. Bitcoin closed at 66,778.29.
Yeah, it dropped 2,026.30 today alone.
But if you zoom out and look at the broader trend, it is still up 2,700.52 for the week. That's a 4.21% increase.
Right. It really just depends on what day you checked your portfolio.
Exactly. And the volatility in those numbers tells a larger story about consumer confidence, which ties directly into the massive tech industry shifts we are looking at today.
Absolutely. But before we open up the Morning Star to break down today's top 3 tech stories, we have a quick message from our sponsor. Strong Coffee is a premium instant coffee that tastes like a traditional brew, but is packed with 15 grams of protein, MCTs, and adaptogens like ashwagandha to give you clean, sustained energy without the jitters. Promo code SNARFL gets you 20% off your entire purchase at strongcoffeecompany.com.
All right, let's open up the Morning Star, the Snarful Tech article report. Our first story looks at a really unprecedented migration in the artificial intelligence space.
We are tracking a highly organized user exodus from OpenAI's ChatGPT over to Anthropic's Claude.
And it is crucial to state right up front for you, the listener, that we are not taking any political sides here.
None at all. Our goal is strictly to look at the facts and report on how users and the market are reacting. And this is all based entirely on the data in our internal report.
Right, we're just reading the weather here. And looking at this data, the sheer velocity of this migration is staggering.
Over the weekend, the phrase cancel ChatGPT completely dominated trending topics across Reddit and X.
The hard numbers paint a really vivid picture of consumer power happening in real time. Uninstalls of the ChatGPT mobile app skyrocketed by 295% on Saturday alone.
295% in one day.
Yeah. And simultaneously, new downloads fell by 13%.
And the user base weaponized the review system too. One-star reviews for the app surged by 775%.
But those users aren't just, logging off and walking away from AI altogether. They're moving their entire workflow.
Right, they're going to Anthropic's AI, which is known as Claude. Claude saw a 37% surge in usage on Friday,
followed by a 51% surge on Saturday.
It rapidly became the #1 free app on the U.S. Apple App Store. Boycott organizers even set up a dedicated website claiming that over 1.5 million users have canceled their ChatGPT subscriptions.
So we have to ask why this is happening. The core catalyst here is a new contract OpenAI struck with the U.S. Department of War, the Pentagon.
And to understand this impartially, you have to look at the contrasting decisions made by the two companies involved here. Anthropic essentially refused the Pentagon unrestricted access to its models.
Right. They drew very specific contractual red lines. They prohibited their AI from being used for mass domestic surveillance, and they banned its use in fully autonomous weapons.
Meaning weapon systems that can authorize lethal force without human oversight.
Exactly. And because of that refusal, President Donald Trump ordered federal agencies to stop using Anthropic.
On the flip side of that, OpenAI quickly stepped in and accepted the Pentagon deal. The users organizing this boycott cite that rapid acceptance as their primary reason for leaving.
But the Morning Star report highlights that the Pentagon deal is really just the tipping point.
Yeah, it's a culmination of things. Users are also pointing to a resume screening tool that OpenAI collaborated on with the ICE agency.
Add to that the intense spotlight on past political donations made by OpenAI executives. The records show OpenAI President Greg Brockman and his wife donated $25 million to Maggie Inc. in 2025.
And CEO Sam Altman donated $1 million to Trump's 2025 inaugural fund.
So when you combine all those factors, you get a boiling point. We are moving from an era where AI was viewed as a neutral utility.
Like electricity or something?
Exactly. To an era where AI is suddenly perceived as a geopolitical actor. I mean, 2 years ago, choosing an AI provider for your business was like choosing an internet service provider. You just wanted the one that kept the lights on.
Now, choosing your AI provider feels like a massive corporate ethics decision.
Yeah. Think about the real-world impact for, say, a mid-sized enterprise.
Right. Imagine running a company where your automated workflow, your customer service bots, your internal drafting tools, they are all entirely dependent on a system that suddenly becomes entangled in a highly polarizing geopolitical controversy.
That forces corporate boards to question enterprise trust. Like, does the everyday software you rely on align with your corporate risk tolerance?
It reminds me of the early days of social media privacy scandals. Remember when millions of people would suddenly delete a platform overnight?
Oh, yeah. But scaling that behavior up to enterprise workflow is entirely new. People are voting with their wallets. And 1.5 million canceled subscriptions is a very loud, financially painful vote.
Which brings us directly into our second story today, focusing on OpenAI's immediate damage control and their subsequent contract amendments.
Because Sam Altman did not let this sit over the weekend.
No, he didn't. On Monday evening, he posted an internal memo to X announcing that OpenAI is officially amending its contract with the Pentagon.
And the language in that amendment is highly specific. Altman stated the AI system will not be intentionally used for domestic mass surveillance of U.S. persons.
To back that up, he explicitly cited the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution. He also cited the National Security Act of 1947 and the FISA Act of 1978.
For context, FISA is the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, which governs how the government conducts physical and electronic surveillance.
He also added that the Department of War affirmed the services won't be used by intelligence agencies, like the NSA, without follow-on modifications.
So the question is, do those legal citations actually change the underlying mechanics of the military deal? Or is this primarily a public relations firewall?
It functions as both, really. By dragging the National Security Act and FISA into a public memo, he's attempting to build a strict legal boundary around the consumer version of ChatGPT.
Trying to separate it from the military applications.
Right. But his tone in the memo was incredibly revealing. He explicitly admitted that the company should not have rushed to meet the Friday deadline for the Pentagon deal.
He used unusually candid language for a tech CEO. He said rushing the deal looked opportunistic and sloppy.
Yeah, he claimed they were genuinely trying to de-escalate things and avoid a much worse outcome. But I have to say, opportunistic and sloppy is exactly how my partner described my weekend DIY patio project.
I was going to say.
Hearing it applied to a multi-billion-dollar military AI contract is honestly a little unsettling.
It definitely highlights the sheer panic happening behind the scenes. And he pivoted to a broader philosophical defense. He stated, the democratic process must stay in control, and we must democratize AI.
He wrote that no private company should decide the fate of the world.
Interestingly, he even expressed hope that the Department of War would offer Anthropic the same terms OpenAI just agreed to, effectively defending his competitor from being designated as a supply chain risk.
We really cannot ignore the global context driving this panic. The timing of this military contract is critical.
Yeah. This initial deal was struck just 1 day before the United States launched military strikes on Iran.
That timing incredibly heightened global tensions, and it placed an intense microscope on any company supplying military technology.
And the pushback was not just coming from ex-users or enterprise clients, it came from inside the house.
Over 500 employees, nearly 500 employees from both OpenAI and Google, signed an open letter supporting Anthropic's red lines regarding autonomous weapons.
We even saw physical protests organized by an advocacy group called Quit GPT outside OpenAI's offices in San Francisco and London.
It perfectly illustrates the immense, perhaps impossible challenge tech companies face when trying to play global diplomats.
Private companies are forced to balance incredibly lucrative government defense contracts with the ethical demands of their consumer base, while simultaneously trying to prevent a mutiny from their own top-tier engineering talent.
It's a tightrope. Speaking of global conflicts colliding with technology and finance, let's transition to our third story. We are shifting from artificial intelligence to the incredibly volatile world of prediction markets.
A startup called Kalshi is facing a massive customer revolt over a $54 million betting market regarding the leadership of Iran.
Let's set the baseline here. Prediction markets allow users to buy derivative contracts based on the outcome of future events.
So in the lead up to the recent U.S. and Israel attack on Iran, speculators rushed to guess the geopolitical outcomes.
Right. Kalshi hosted a specific market asking if Iranian Ayatollah Ali Khamenei would be out as supreme leader, offering traders yes or no contracts.
Picture the timeline for a second. You are a trader on Kalshi. Rumors are circulating online that Khamenei has been killed in the military strikes.
Kalshi is actively promoting this specific market on their social media channels on Saturday morning.
Eventually, his assassination is confirmed. So if you bought the yes contracts, you're assuming you just secured a massive payout.
But Kalshi did not pay out the yes better.
No, they didn't. Instead, they paused the market for review on Saturday afternoon. They ultimately resolved the market at the last traded position prior to his killing.
That decision effectively voided the bets of anyone banking on his death, and traders were absolutely livid.
But if we look at the regulatory framework, shouldn't those traders have known the risks? Kalshi's CEO, Tariq Mansour, defended the decision by pointing to U.S. law.
U.S. regulations strictly forbid derivatives markets from offering contracts on assassinations.
To comply with that, Kalshi enforces what they call a death carve-out. This rule prevents users from profiting directly from someone's death. Having a market settle on an assassination is fundamentally illegal under their operating licenses.
The legal framework makes perfect sense, but the implementation is why Kalshi is facing threats of class action lawsuits.
The outrage isn't just about the obscure law, it's about the user interface. Kalshi reportedly only added the notice highlighting this death carve-out to the specific web page for that market after the military attack on Iran had already begun.
That is wild. Many traders who poured millions into the market never saw the warning before placing their bets.
That late notice is the critical failure point here. It led to users filing formal complaints with the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, which is the government agency overseeing these platforms.
To manage the fallout, Kalshi reimbursed all fees and net losses, taking a financial hit of $2.2 million.
Mansour issued a lengthy apology. But for a huge segment of their user base, the trust is entirely broken.
And the inconsistencies across the industry make it even messier. A major competitor, Polymarket, hosted a similar market, asking if Khamenei would be out as supreme leader by March 31st.
And Polymarket did not appear to alter its payouts following the assassination.
It forces regulators into a very uncomfortable corner. Think about how this compares to traditional sports betting.
Right. In sports betting, the rules of a football game are static. A touchdown is always 6 points. But when you try to gamify real-world geopolitics through derivative contracts, the rules are constantly shifting.
The rules of global conflict are inherently chaotic. Trying to neatly package the fog of war into a binary yes or no financial derivative hits a massive legal wall.
This situation really exposes the Wild West nature of emerging tech finance platforms. It shows how the gamification of global news can severely impact normal people who invest their money thinking these platforms operate with straightforward, transparent logic.
It's a hard lesson for a lot of users this week. Before we wrap up, we want to mention our sponsor, Old Glory, an iconic music and sports fan merch store, which has great stuff for your techie friend. If you use promo code SNARFL at checkout, you can get 15% off your entire purchase. The website is oldglory.com.
Looking at the entire Morningstar report today, the clear thread connecting all three of these stories is the complete loss of the neutral tech platform illusion.
Whether we are talking about a massive artificial intelligence model routing enterprise workflow or a financial prediction market gamifying the news, technology is deeply embedded in the messy reality of global conflicts.
We watch the sheer power of the consumer wallet force OpenAI to amend a military contract.
We analyze the intricate, highly politicized dance of AI regulation.
And we saw the chaotic reality of platforms like Kalshi, where U.S. derivative laws crash headfirst into real-time warfare.
It fundamentally changes how you view the apps sitting on your phone's home screen, which leaves us with a final provocative thought for you to mull over today.
As software becomes more deeply intertwined with global warfare, domestic politics, and international law, where is the line between being a passive consumer of a product and being a participant in a tech company's global agenda?
Will we soon see a future where mandatory political affiliation labels or military contract disclosures are required on our everyday software, just like nutrition facts on our food? It is definitely something to consider the next time you hit download.
We're here to help at Snarful, so reach out on our website if you have any more questions.
That's a wrap on today's top stories. Remember, tech doesn't have to be complicated, and we're here to help connect the dots. If you've got questions or want to learn more, visit us at snarful.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.